Peace, family. This is Lions Den with another news and commentary. This article is from the Atlanta Black Star. Jim Brown says, I'm going to read this, and I'm going to definitely continue my commentary. Jim Brown says black community has a responsibility to hold itself accountable, not blame Trump. Okay. The NFL Hall of Famer Jim Brown said it's high time the black community take responsibility for its own issues rather than to point the finger at President Donald Trump. Brown, a former running back for the Cleveland Browns, appeared on Fox and Friends this week, where he affirmed his support for the exceptional president. The 82-year-old said he doesn't blame Trump for the troubles plaguing the black community, and neither shows black folks. We should look at ourselves first before we look at the president, Brown says. The black community and I'm a part of that community, has a responsibility regardless of what the president does. And if you have a homicide rate within your black community, then it's not the president that has created a homicide rate. It's the black community itself that needs to address it. I don't want to put everything on Trump, he continued. I'm sorry to say that the black community isn't doing what we should do. And that includes myself. We had to be able to, as citizens, bring in something that the president can join forces with, and the triple of the effectiveness of it. Brown, who faced backlash for criticizing NFL player protests, dug himself into an even deeper hole by creating white people for the progress and success achieved by African Americans, specifically black athletes. The advancement of black people in this country is based upon white people who risk their lives just to do the right thing to make the playing field equal and balanced, he said. How many black athletes are millionaires because of those white fans that go to the games? The football legend went on to deny that Trump is a racist and laud the president for being accessible and open to hearing his concerns. I'm going to say it like this. You see a lot of people, black people, that you got Steve Harvey, you got Kanye West, and you got Jim Brown. And you know what? Jim Brown, in my opinion, used to be one of the respected men in the civil rights movement. When he was fighting for the civil rights movement back in those days and when he was playing football with the Cleveland Browns. Now, I'm sorry to say this, but he's a coon. He's a straight up coon. Why you want to try to put African Americans under the bus? How you want to put the black community under the bus when we praises you? Praises you. And then now you want to say don't blame Donald Trump for we had to take responsibility. No, it was Donald Trump that took jobs away from the black community. It was Donald Trump that basically caused this from the beginning, with police brutality, with the white supremacists on the rise. And yet you're gonna basically say, oh, we need to have our own responsibility. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this video from Jim Brown himself, and I'm gonna finish the rest of my commentary.
Hall of Fame athlete, activist, been relevant for over 50 years on the national and international stage, voices support for the President of the United States. What's controversial about that? Well, it's controversial in today's day and age because the president's President Trump, and that athlete turned activist, impact person is Jim Brown. Jim Brown, welcome to Fox and Friends.
Thank you, Brian. It's good to be on with you.
Jim, why have you looked at this president and said, I support what he's doing?
Well, I'll tell you, the greatest thing about America is that we all have our opinions and our thoughts. Nobody is totally correct in everything that they do. I have access to the president, and anytime I have access to the president and he will listen to my thoughts, that's all I can ask of him. And that's what I do. So this president is accessible, and he's different, he's challenging, and he pays attention to what I say.
The numbers look pretty promising. Black unemployment is down. Wages are up. His approval rating in the black community is still low, but it's doubled really since the spring of 2018. you're somebody who likes some of the things that he's doing. What is he doing that you like?
Well, to tell you the truth, there's two things. North Korea, that is highly important to me because the scenario there have changed, and he has made it change. And couple of months ago, I was looking at a nuclear war, and so he's dealing with that gentleman that runs that country in a manner that makes me feel very proud of him.
I'm gonna stop right there. When you talk about North Korea, number one, basically Trump didn't make peace with North Korea, and if the last time I checked, the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un increases his nuclear capabilities, his nuclear arsenal. Even though they say they're supposed to dismantle the nuclear arsenal, disarm the nuclear missiles and nuclear capability, when he came back, he increased it. Let's move it on.
The other thing that has passed my mind is right now, but I'll tell you this. The number one thing is that if I have an idea and a concept, and I'm working my butt off to make this a better country, and I put in a call to the president, and he will answer me, what else can I ask him to do? He has his job to do, and I also have my job to do as a citizen that has a certain amount of influence. And so I don't blame him and what his office can produce. I look at what I can produce in the black community and the community at large and all the individuals that I can influence that will work with us to make this a better country.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. Jim Brown, what do you ever do for the black community? I'm just saying, what do you ever done? Did you raise money to help programs for schools? Do you help teach these kids to get away from gangs? Did you ever basically do after school programs for the black community? What did you ever do for the black community, Mr. Brown? I don't understand this. You saying that you try to help, try to do what you have to do for the black community, and you ain't do a damn thing but talk. And yet, and still, you didn't have no programs for kids that's end up in the streets, and you try to get jobs to keep teenagers from joining gangs and having after-school programs. What did you ever do for the black community, Mr. Brown? What did you do? Boy. Continue, moving on.
So we should look at ourselves first before we look at the president.
Right. Do you feel as though he's producing for the black community?
Well, I'll tell you, it's very hard to produce for the black community in a certain way. The black community, and I'm a part of the black community, has a responsibility regardless of what the president does. And if you have a homicide rate within your black community, then it's not the president that's created that homicide rate. It's the black community itself that needs to address it. So I don't want to just put everything on him. And I'm sorry to say that the black community is not doing what we should do, and that includes myself. I can work harder, I can donate more money, I can go more places, but we have to be able to, as citizens, bring something that the president can join forces with and triple the effectiveness of it.
I'm telling you, you just put black people under the bus when you make this comment. We respected you, Mr. Brown, when you was a part of the civil rights movement. You was fighting for the people that couldn't fight for themselves. And then all of a sudden, you attack Colin Kaepernick for taking the knee, for fighting for racial injustice and police brutality. By taking a knee, you put him under the bus, and now you want to put all the black community under the bus because you're Jim Brown. Wait a minute. What about, you talking about that you part of the black community, but you're not doing anything for the black community but to talk. You never raised money. You never done a damn thing. So, obviously, what have you done for the black community, Mr. Brown? I don't understand that. You got Steve Harvey. You got yourself. You got Ray Lewis. You got all these athletes, all these comedians trying to meet with Trump, and now he face backlash because you meet the man that don't like us anyway. I tell you, this is if this ain't a coon, I don't know who is. And obviously, you, Mr. Brown, need to be ashamed of yourself. You said you helped the black community, which there's no evidence that you did. I just don't get it, Mr. Brown. Let's move on.
Hey, Jim, do you look at this president, the times you said one-on-one before and after him being president, is he a racist?
I'm so glad you asked me that. Of course not.
Is this man for real? Did he just wait? Whoa. Didn't he just say he's not a racist? You just come on Fox and Friends. We don't even watch Fox News anyway. But you come on there and you said that Trump ain't a racist. Oh, boy. Someone need to educate this coon right here. First of all, if Trump's not a racist, why did Donald Trump's father, who was a member of the Ku Klux Klan chapter in New York City, and support the Klan? Oh, yeah, in Charlottesville. Remember Charlotte? Oh, no, I guess I have to teach you, Mr. Brown. Charlottesville last year, he said that the Klan or the white supremacists are very fine people. Remember that? Oh, and what about how they treating the immigrants, the Mexican immigrants, when they basically put them in private facilities that treat them like a country like a camp, like one of them concentration camps. And the people that's trying to come into the country, like the Hondurans and the El Salvadorians, they ain't got nowhere else to go, and then Trump pushed them right back to their home country, and they treat them like dirt. And all of a sudden, and I forgot that there's white supremacists like David Duke, who bought Trump's campaign, and you say he's not a racist? Okay, moving on.
You know, is America racist? Of course not. The emancipation, the advancement of black people in this country is based upon white people who risk their lives just to do the right thing to make the playing field equal and balanced. So we always talk about the negative, but what about the positive? How many black athletes are millionaires because of those fans, white fans that go to those games? The NBA.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. When you said about the fans, you forgot about Colin Kaepernick. How do y'all treat Colin Kaepernick? When Colin Kaepernick took a knee for racial injustice, for police brutality, you called this man out. And all the white fans called him the N-word and everything else. And talking about without white fans, what's going on with athletes that making millions and millions of dollars. And obviously, you have basketball star LeBron James. Remember him? Even though, at least with him, he supports his own community, the black community, creates schools in Ohio. At least LeBron James does that. But he himself been attacked by white supremacists, putting the KKK, the N-word, at his L.A. home. And yet, you talking about all these sports athletes. These sports athletes, it felt racism as much as anybody else. I'm telling y'all, this is unbelievable. I can't believe Jim Brown, who's supposed to be one of the leaders of the civil rights movement, and now you can put his own black community under bus. Okay, moving on.
The National Football League, those organizations would be out of business if it were not for people not of color, but white people that go to those games and support those teams. So we have to give credit to the positive.
So what are you saying, Mr. Brown, that black fans don't have that support? That black fans don't go to games, no NFL games, no NBA games, no Major League Baseball games, spending money, spending spending apparel, spending jerseys, and all of that. So what you're saying is that without the white athletes, the sport black athletes don't get millions and millions of dollars. Well, guess what, Mr. Brown? There's some black fans that do the same thing. So you ain't gonna tell them, well, there's black fans as well that do. All you said is white fans supporting these black athletes with these millions of dollars, and you're not one time saying that black fans support their own athletes. Some of that money comes from the black fans too. Get it together. Moving on.
Aspect of what people are doing in America, and stop going to the negative first.
Well said. Jim, you said, hey, listen, and I watched you on Hard Knocks on HBO, and he said, I would never be kneeling for the national anthem. Shannon Sharpe, a Hall of Fame tight end, said this on Fox, says, if what Jim Brown's saying is true, if what Colin Kaepernick is doing in 2017 is wrong, then what Jim Brown did in 1967 was wrong when he led a protest to support Muhammad Ali for being a conscientious objector to the war. What do you say?
I say thanks. The bottom line is this. We should never denigrate our flag and our national anthem. We should always be Americans first, and we should work our butts off to do the right thing and make...
Okay, I'm stopped right there. First of all, this is not about the flag. It has never been about the American flag. What Colin Kaepernick has done is that he took a knee for racial injustice, for police brutality. This has never been about the American flag. And I'm getting so sick and tired of these talking points. Well, this is about the American flag. This is about... First of all, this is not about the national anthem nor the American flag. This is about a man's right for a peaceful protest. And I know some of y'all trolls gonna say, well, he can have a right to protest, but he should at least stand up over the flag. For some of you who's miseducated, the national anthem, look it up. Look at the third verse. When Francis Scott Key has support in support of who's a slave owner, by the way, support the killing of black slaves. In the third verse, I want you guys, for those who wants to be interested in the Star Spangled Banner in the first place, look it up. And obviously, you'll find why Jim Brown said exactly, you find why Colin Kaepernick took a knee, because police brutality across the black community, when you have racial injustice still happening in America, and you want to sweep that under the rug. And you got guys like Jim Brown, guys like, it's so embarrassing to see all of this. This is why I'm shaking my head of all of this. And I want you guys to see Jim Brown's own words of what he's saying in support of Donald Trump. Let me go ahead and finish this video, and I'm going to conclude the rest of my commentary.
A better country. But to not respect your flag and your national anthem is something that I would never do.
I want you to hear, by the way, people that have joined you in the support of the president: George Foreman, Dennis Rodman, Kanye West, Herschel Walker, Mike Tyson. I want you to hear what Spike Lee said at Cannes Film Festival about America.
United States of America was built upon the genocide of Native people and slavery. That is the fabric of the United States of America.
What's your response?
Well, I'm sure that's not the full quote. I'm sure there's more in Spike's mind. And if you want to point to slavery and call it for what it is, he's right. But if you look at the other side of it, the people that gave their lives to make it better for those slaves, you look at Harriet Tubman and that particular movement, you look at the progress that has been led by Caucasian people to deal with freedom, equality, and justice for black people. we're no longer in slavery. We have self-determination, and this country is the greatest country in the world. So although when you look at slavery, slavery is an abominable type of situation. It's the reality of our past, but we've gone way past that particular kind of situation. And we should look at the positive rather than the negative and do all the things that we can do, not point the finger at someone else, but we can do as a society to make things better in our country.
Right. Hey, Jim, I'm out of time, but I'll say one thing. One of the greatest things that happened to me is become friends with you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Brian. Vice versa.
Let me finish with this thought. Let me finish with this commentary for a minute. You got Jim Brown, who fought for civil rights, who's one of the most greatest running backs in NFL history. You know, when he played for the Cleveland Browns, I got great respect for the men back then. He fought for the civil rights, and, you know, he's a great football player. I don't respect him now. I don't respect this man now, not only because he supports Donald Trump. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But when you put the black community under the bus like this, some people in the black community ain't gonna forget it. Like, you basically, you know, put the black community under the bus, and you never put your money in the black community. You never help with the programs. You never create schools for the black community or have foods for kids that couldn't afford to have lunches or breakfast. And at least LeBron James created a school in Ohio. You know, I commend LeBron James for doing that. But you, sir, had the audacity to put all the black community under the bus, and then and expect that, you know, Colin Kaepernick, you must take a stand in the American flag. By the way, this ain't about the American flag or the national anthem. It's about a man's right to take a knee for the police brutality and racial injustice in this country. You, sir, are an embarrassment. You, just like you said, Herschel Walker, Mike Tyson, Steve Harvey, Ray Lewis. The list goes on and on with all these athletes and entertainers that support Donald Trump, and you said that he is not a racist, which is a damn lie. He's a racist to his heart. He's always been a racist. And the thing is, the Charlottesville incident proves that. He said that they're good people on both sides. That the white supremacists are good people too. All of this, and you said he's not a racist. Look what he did. Look what he did to the immigrants, the Hispanic immigrants. How they sent them back to the country when they know that if they send them back, they might the gangs might kill them. They left their country because to prevent from getting murdered by gangs. And they need a way. They need a new way of life. And yet you send them. And then you went to get them to these facilities like them concentration camps for kids to go. And then some of the kids die because of that. And yet he's not a racist. I'm telling you, Jim Brown, I don't have no respect for him. I don't know what to say. This guy, I don't know why he is what he is. I don't know because he's on Fox and Friends. He want to please their base. I don't know why Jim Brown is what he is. But just like Ray Lewis, just like Herschel Walker, just like Mike Tyson and all them other athletes, I don't have no respect for guys like them. And for that, Mr. Brown, the black community will never forget what you have done. You sold them to the river. You forgot about where you come from. And that's, you know, and to me, we just have to understand that he's lost, and we just got to move forward. Leave a comment, tell what you think about this video, share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my reaction channel, and subscribe to my Black Johnson channel for all the news and commentary. With that being said, this is Lions Den signing off. Deuces.